We at the CPR Worldwide Media Network, your constitutional patriot radio station, would like to take a moment to reach out to a portion of our listening audience, to the NSA, the mainstream media, to liberals masquerading as conservatives who would like to see us off the air, and to those who are spinning their wheels trying to take us down. We have a special message just for you. At the CPR Worldwide Media Network, we're happy to be your 24/7, 365 obsession because, while you have your little panties in a wad, we're speaking truth to power, telling real conservatives what you don't want them to hear, the truth, and we're not gonna stop. Now then, back under your collective bridges with the rest of your fellow trolls, and oh yes, thanks for listening to CPR.
This is a station identification moment. You're listening to CPR Worldwide Media, a division of CPR Media Network, coming to you live right across the planet. Check out our website at www.cprworldwidemedia.com and our Facebook page at facebook.com/CPR Worldwide Media. This is CPR Media Network, coming to you live from the USA.
Well, looky here, a new listener. Hey, this ain't your little sister's radio station.
Has come for our voices to be heard, for our borders to be secured, and our immigration laws enforced. Welcome to the Ruthie Report. Thank you for tuning in. Let's start the show in the correct fashion. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Again, welcome to the Ruthie Report. Thank you for tuning in. Tonight's guests that will join us at the top of the 9 o'clock hour are Robert and Debbie Gittenberg. Now, you are not going to believe the account of two fellow Americans and their Social Security number theft nightmare at the hands of two illegal aliens. Please join me for an eye-popping account of the theft of this American's Social Security number and how it has ruined their lives. How Debbie, through just sheer determination and years of hard work, was tasked with unraveling this travesty. Their efforts are still ongoing. And even more maddening is the realization that the IRS knew it and did nothing. Once again, it seems that providing illegal aliens with cover trumps the American citizenry. And it is only getting worse, folks. Hear what the IRS actually had to say. And if that is not enough to bring you to your feet, tune in to hear why one of the illegal aliens was released after being found guilty. You are not going to believe it, really. Also, we will be discussing, Debbie, Robert, and I, legislation that is being drafted to address this. We must demand that our representatives get on board. Of course, again, that will be at the top of the 9 o'clock hour. We are going to take a quick 3-minute station identification commercial break, and when we return, we will jump into lead stories for this evening. Please stay tuned.
Forward march to the next generation and a brand new age. To the future and the future of tough. Introducing the all-new Ford F-150, the first and only pickup with a high-strength, military-grade aluminum alloy body, up to 700 pounds lighter, so it can haul more than any half-ton pickup on the planet. Over 100 patents, so you can work even smarter, and every single square millimeter tougher. Towing the most of any half-ton pickup. With the muscle to move the world. And the brains to change it. This is the all-new Ford F-150, the future of tough.
How are things with the new guy?
All we do is go out to dinner.
That's it?
I mean, he picks up the tab every time, which is great.
Why? He's using you. He probably has a city thank you card and he gets 2 times the points at restaurants.
So he's just racking up points with me.
Some people.
Ugh.
No, I got it.
The City Thank You Preferred Card. Now earn 2 times the points on dining out and entertainment with no annual fee. To apply, go to city.com/thankyoucards.
Listen up! Ready?
Ready.
Steady. Go!
It's more than a movie. It's now a ride. Let's go! Fast and Furious, supercharged. Ride it at Universal Studios Hollywood.
The most important thing in life will always be family. The people right here, right now.
Dominic Toretto.
You don't know me.
You're about to.
Looks like the sins of London have followed us home.
Remember Owen Shaw? This is his big bad brother.
We're being hunted.
I'm going with you.
One last ride.
Daddy's gotta go to work.
This takes crazy to a whole nother level.
What's up now? What's up now? Hold it down like what's up now?
Mr. Gray, I just have a couple of questions. To what do you owe your success?
There's some people who say that I don't have a heart.
Why would they say that?
Because they know me well.
Why do I get the feeling that that is not true?
You have to admit he's ridiculously hot.
If you are attracted to that sort of human,
the hot type of human,
I had a rough start in life. I don't do romance.
Could do what no one else can.
Welcome to my world. Mother, Anastasia Steele.
You have no idea how delighted I am to meet you.
You said you didn't do romance.
I don't.
What are you doing to me? Where have you been?
Waiting.
Oh, no. Rated R.
Read something recently worth thinking about. It's the soldier, not the campus organizer, who's given us freedom to demonstrate. It's the soldier, not the reporter, who's given us freedom of the press. It's the soldier, not the poet, who's given us freedom of speech. It's the soldier who serves under the flag, who defends the protesters' right to burn the flag. Isn't it time now to demonstrate that we support our troops? Were it not for the brave, there'd be no land of the free.
Fred Thompson's message was brought to you by citizensunited.org.
Welcome back to the Ruthie Report. Thank you for tuning in. Let's get right to it this evening. Let's get to the political landscape and get it out of the way first, if we shall. This first item, and just for the first-time listeners, what I do is I share the news for the first half an hour, criminally and or insane for the second half an hour, and our guest at the top of the hour. I provide you with the sources and the dates so that you can look them up yourself if you choose. This first item is from the weeklystandard.com. It is dated February 25th. It says, President Obama warned workers at the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement implement executive amnesty or else. He made the comments in a town hall event on immigration at MSNBC. He said, quote unquote, until we pass a law through Congress, the executive actions we've taken are not going to be permanent. They are temporary. There are going to be some jurisdictions, and there may be individual ICE official or border control agents not paying attention to our new directives. But they're going to be answerable to the head of Homeland Security because he's been very clear about what our priorities will be, Obama said, end quote. He said, if somebody's working for ICE and they don't follow the policy, there's going to be consequences to it. Now, what happened is that Jose Diaz Bartlett asked, and this is a little exchange between them, he said, but what are the consequences? Because how do you ensure that an ICE agent or a Border Patrol agent won't be deporting people like this? I mean, what are the consequences? Obama's response was, Jose, look, you know how he does. You know, can't you just see him? Drives me insane. I can't even listen anymore. Jose, look, the bottom line is that if somebody is working for ICE and there is a policy and they don't follow the policy, there are going to be consequences to it. So I can't speak to a specific problem. What I can talk about is what's true in the government generally. End of article. My take. So, in essence, what epic failure is what I refer to Obama. Epic failure is saying is this. There will be consequences for those who do their job and enforce the rule of law instead of listening to the temporary refrigerator magnet memos of DHS. And I mean that sincerely from the bottom of my heart. That is pretty much sums up what he's saying, isn't it? This is a new level to lawlessness. When you are telling law enforcement that they cannot enforce the law and they have to follow the lawless memos from DHS, that is a new level of lawlessness, folks. There you go. That's how we're going to start the show tonight. Moving on from the Huffington Post, dated the 25th. Obama, he says, they can have that vote, but I won't back down on immigration. This is out of Washington. Barack Obama said Wednesday that Republicans can go after his immigration programs in the courts and in Congress, but his confidence will not be shaken. You know, just a side thought here. Wouldn't it be nice if his confidence in and his work for the American people was as determined as it is for illegal aliens? Okay, it goes on to say, in short, this is Obama talking, in short, if Mr. McConnell, the leader of the Senate, and the House Speaker, John Boehner, want to have a vote over whether what I am doing is legal or not, they can have that vote. I will veto that vote because I am absolutely confident it's the right thing to do, he said. He said that instead of fighting over immigration during the effort to fund DHS, he hoped Republicans would turn to reform. The Senate passed a bipartisan comprehensive immigration reform bill in 2013, but it went nowhere in the House. He also singled out former Florida Governor Jeb Bush, who is exploring a run for the presidency in 2016. He said Bush's voiced support for immigration reform, but also criticized Obama for his policies. Obama quotedly said, "I appreciate Mr. Bush being concerned about immigration reform. I would suggest that what he do is talk to the Speaker of the House and the members of his party," end quote. For those undocumented immigrants currently awaiting reform or deportation retrieve, Obama said to take heart that his new policies go beyond the programs halted by a judge. He said that the administration is also instructing immigration and border agents to follow new guidelines and to focus on certain undocumented immigrants for deportation, such as recent border crossers, criminals, and national security threats. Obama acknowledged that issuing priorities does not always work, and he said that the Homeland Security Secretary Jay Johnson would push to ensure that they are being followed. End of article. I have several comments for you on this. This just drives me mad. It is such nonsense. So asinine, I can't hardly stand it. So here's my thoughts. First of all, one, Obama is saying no matter what Congress or our judicial system says, that he's going to go forward with this treasonous, destructive agenda. Folks, that is grounds for impeachment. He is not a dictator. Second, anyone out there who is supporting Jeb Bush, which I would believe are very few at this point, isn't it nice that Obama appreciates Bush's efforts? Enough said. Third, Obama continues to push those actions of 2013. You hear him say that all of the time. But he fails to mention that when he had control of both houses, they did nothing on the issue. Instead, they focused on socialized medicine. It should, but does not, show the illegal aliens in this country and their minions just what the game is here. The game is called important when it's convenient for political games. Too bad the illegal aliens in the country are not smart enough to figure it out. 4, and lastly, this supposedly is all about this DHS funding. Quit, please. Quit insulting our intelligence. DHS could and would have been funded weeks ago if epic failure, the Democrats and a few Republicans would remove their amnesty funding. So here's the million-dollar question, folks. What is more important to Obama, the Democrats, and a few Republicans? Funding DHS or illegal aliens? That is how simple this is. It's that simple. But, I was just thinking when I was getting ready for the show tonight, it makes you wonder, does anyone in Congress, and I'm specifically focusing this to the Democrats, I wonder if they realize that Obama has just declared that he does not give a damn what they have to say either. Because if 6 Democrats would come over and make it veto-proof, he's telling them to shove it. I would love to see it. Bring it on. Moving on. Now, we, the people, have demanded that the GOP hold the line on funding for amnesty. Holding it back, out of the bill, no funding. And so far, Boehner, as hard as it is to believe, Boehner has been answering the call. So as hard as it is for me to say, he does deserve at this point thanks. Ask him to continue to stand strong. What I'm talking about is from the National Journal, and other sources are reporting this, like the Washington Times, from today. It says, with less than 2 days to go before Homeland Security Department shutdown, John Boehner isn't blinking. He said, quote, unquote, "We passed a bill to fund the department 6 weeks ago. 6 weeks ago. It's time for the Senate to act. How many times do I have to say it? End quote. The article goes on to say Boehner does not appear to be going along with his Republican counterparts in the Senate, where Majority Leader Mitch McConnell is looking to avert a shutdown by offering Democrats a clean funding bill for DHS. The Speaker would not say whether he would back a Senate funding bill without provisions that would defund Obama's executive actions on immigration. At one point, Boehner blew kisses at reporters after they asked him whether he would or not. Of course, folks, excuse me, I had a really bad cold this week. We really never know what's going on. But for Boehner to stand up there and say, how many times do I have to say it, it's promising. Let's take the silver linings where we can get them. So, United States House, please stand strong. However, while I share that little bit of good news with you, we have this. This is from The Hill, dated today. Reid vows to block DHS conference. It says, Senate Minority Leader Harry Reid on Thursday vowed to block any effort by House Republicans to amend a clean Department of Homeland Security funding bill. Standing next to Pelosi, oh my God, Reid blasted any plan by the House Republicans to force negotiations over DHS funding as a waste of time, and said that Senate Democrats would block a conference committee to negotiate a final bill. He said, we heard all kinds of rumors that the House is going to take our fully funded bill and send it back with a number of riders on it. It's a waste of time, he said. We will not allow a conference to take place. It won't happen. Well, who in the hell does Harry Reid think he is anyway? Really? He goes on to say, we're not going to allow a conference to take place, and if they want to debate immigration when it's all over with, we'll be happy to do it. End of article. Folks, really, is the Senate GOP that stupid? I'm serious. Are they that stupid, or do they just want amnesty as well? By Reid's own comments alone, if they want to debate it when this is all over with. Good Lord, are you kidding me? Why is Reid acting like he's still in charge in the first place? And where is the GOP response to all of this nonsense? Why are they not actively combating this? Call Mitch McConnell. Ask him to explain to you why he can't see what we see. We all know that the Department of Homeland Security will continue to function. But those that are using the scare tactics, to you that are utilizing, hate to let a good disaster go to waste, using scare tactics, if you want the Department of Homeland Security funding, fine. Remove all of the amnesty funding and you will have bipartisan support. Folks, this is such utter nonsense. I'm serious. It's not even 5th grade stuff. This is more like 3rd graders on the playground. Moving on. This is I'm so glad to hear that. I'll read it to you first, then, and I guess I'll share my comments. This is from The Blaze, and it's dated the 25th, yesterday. The title is this: You could have heard a pin drop during Father's devastating testimony on illegal immigration. Do Black Lives Really Matter? Again, this is dated yesterday. Jamil Shaw, whose son was murdered by an illegal immigrant in 2008, blasted the Obama administration's immigration policies during a House Oversight and Government Reform Subcommittee hearing on Wednesday. Quote unquote, My son, Jamil Andre Shah II, was murdered by a dreamer, a DACA recipient, a child brought to this country by no fault of his own, Shah began. My family's peace and freedom was stolen by an illegal alien from Mexico. He was brought here by his illegal alien parents and allowed to grow up as a wild animal. He continued, some people believe that if you are brought over by no fault of your own, that it makes you a good person. They want you to believe that the Dream Act kids don't murder. I am here to debunk that myth. End quote. Shah then delivered a gut-wrenching account of how his son was murdered by an illegal immigrant with a criminal record. He said, my son, Jamil Shah II, was murdered while walking on a street 3 houses down from his home. An illegal alien on his first gun charge was visiting a neighbor when my son was coming home. He shot my son in the stomach and in the head, killing him. Do black lives really matter? Or does it only matter if you are shot by a white person or a white policeman? End quote. He later revealed that the illegal alien dreamer that murdered his son only served 4 months of an 8-month sentence for assault with a deadly weapon and battery on a police officer. He was sentenced from the county jail, he was released from the county jail a day before he executed Jamil. Jamil Shah Sr. goes on to say, why was this violent, illegal alien allowed to walk the streets of America instead of being deported? Before concluding, he called for comprehensive immigration enforcement. End of article. Thank you to Jamil Shah. Thank you for speaking out. Jamil Shah Sr. has been my guest in the past, and I will try to schedule him again. Some background on this. Did you guys know that when Jamil was murdered, his mother was serving overseas, answering our armed forces' call to protect this nation, only to have her son murdered because our laws are not enforced here? Did you know that Jamil was an inspiring football player with a career ahead of him that was never in trouble with the law? Where are all those black vocal leaders now? Where were all the people back then protesting, laying down in the streets? Where were you then? Like Jamil Sr. said, do black lives matter? Or can they just be pushed away if there's a political agenda such as illegal immigration involved? Think about it. There's a lot of crime that the black leaders are not sharing with you. If you happen to be a black American, you might want to check it out. All right, we have several more here, and we're going to have to take our first break. I have so much news for you this evening. We're going to take our second station identification break here, and when we get back, we will get to as much of it as we humanly possibly can. Please stay tuned. We will be right back.
This is a station identification moment. You're listening to CPR Worldwide Media, a division of CPR Media Network, coming to you live right across the planet.
Well, looky here, a new listener. Hey, this ain't your little sister's radio station.
You know what happens when we take away the late fees and penalty rate? No one misses them. The City Simplicity card is the only card that never has late fees, a penalty rate, or an annual fee. Ever. Go to city.com/simplicity to apply.
Forward march to the next generation and a brand new age. To the future and the future of tough. Introducing the all-new Ford F-150, the first and only pickup with a high-strength, military-grade aluminum alloy body, up to 700 pounds lighter, so it can haul more than any half-ton pickup on the planet. Over 100 patents, so you can work even smarter, and every single square millimeter tougher. Towing the most of any half-ton pickup. With the muscle to move the world. And the brains to change it. This is the all-new Ford F-150, the future of tough.
Listen up! Ready?
Ready.
Steady. Go!
It's more than a movie. It's now a ride. Let's go! Fast and Furious, supercharged. Ride it at Universal Studios Hollywood.
The most important thing in life will always be family. The people right here, right now.
Dominic Toretto.
You don't know me.
You're about to.
Looks like the sins of London have followed us home.
Remember Owen Shaw? This is his big bad brother.
We're being hunted.
I'm going with you.
One last ride.
Daddy's gotta go to work.
This takes crazy to a whole nother level.
What's up now? What's up now? Hold it down like what's up now?
Mr. Gray, I just have a couple of questions. To what do you owe your success?
There's some people who say that I don't have a heart
Why would they say that?
because they know me well.
Why do I get the feeling that that is not true?
You have to admit he's ridiculously hot.
If you are attracted to that sort of human,
The hot type of human?
I had a rough start in life. I don't do romance.
Could do what no one else can.
Welcome to my world. Mother, Anastasia Steele.
You have no idea how delighted I am to meet you.
you said you didn't do romance.
I don't. What are you doing to me? Where have you been?
Waiting.
Oh, no. Rated R.
Read something recently worth thinking about. It's the soldier, not the campus organizer, who's given us freedom to demonstrate. It's the soldier, not the reporter, who's given us freedom of the press. It's the soldier, not the poet, who's given us freedom of speech. It's the soldier who serves under the flag, who defends the protesters' right to burn the flag. Isn't it time now to demonstrate that we support our troops? Were it not for the brave, there'd be no land of the free.
Fred Thompson's message was brought to you by citizensunited.org.
Welcome back to the Ruthie Report. Thank you for tuning in. Let's get right to tonight's Criminally and/or Insane segment right off the get-go. This is from valleycentral.com, dated the 21st. The title is, as many as 2,800 inmates to be moved after leaving prison uninhabitable. This is uninhabitable, This is just utterly mind-boggling. This is out of Raymondville, Texas, by the AP. It says, an official says that more than 2,800 inmates will be moved to another facilities one day after several of the 100 prisoners seized control of part of the federal prison in South Texas. U.S. Bureau of Prison spokesperson Ed Ross said in a statement that the Willacy County Correctional Center in Raymondsville is now uninhabitable due to damage caused by the inmate population. Authorities say that about 800 to 900 of the inmates are not participating or did not participate in the disturbance. The inmates being held at the facility are described as low-level offenders who are primarily immigrants in the United States illegally. So, they're low-level illegal aliens. I wish they could just get to that. And end of article. And why did they riot, folks? Do you know? Because they were unhappy with their medical services. I kid you not. Are you kidding me? Really? So while Americans struggle to pay their socialized health care debacle known as Obamacare, we have incarcerated, deportable, illegal aliens rioting and destroying a prison. You can't make this stuff up. So the question is why are we not deporting these illegal aliens that are in our penal system instead of providing them with 3 meals a day and a warm bed at taxpayer expense? Needs that we do not afford to many of our own, like the American homeless. Why? Why would this happen? Why are we continuing to do this? It's called lack of leadership and lack of law enforcement. What else really could it be? Ask yourself, why would the American citizenry, the American taxpayer who is struggling on their own, not taking care of their own, be allowing and jailing illegal aliens that are deportable and low risk on top of it, providing them 3 meals a day, a warm bed, and health care? If it's not lack of leadership, then it's got to be intentional chaos. What else could it be? It's one or the other. I think it's, or both, is my choice. I think it's both. Moving on. This is from CNSnews.com, dated the 23rd. Texas governor says, since January 1st, we have had more than 20,000 people come across the border. That's correct. Quote unquote, he says, we all saw what happened on the Texas border last summer, but we need to understand that the problem is not going away, said Texas Governor Greg Abbott on Face the Nation with Bob Schieffer on Sunday. He said, already this calendar year, since January 1st, we have had more than 20,000 people come across the border, apprehended, unauthorized. And so, we have an ongoing problem on the border that Congress must step up and solve. All told, in the fiscal year of 2014, U.S. immigration officials removed 213,719 individuals apprehended while attempting to unlawfully enter the United States. Of course, folks, when Abbott is talking, this is just in Texas that we're talking about. The only comment that you can add to that is secure the border. Moving on, Breitbart.com, dated the 25th, out of McAllen, Texas. A previously deported human trafficker has been arrested for assaulting a U.S. Border Patrol agent, biting him numerous times during the struggle. The assault took place in a brushy area near the Sarteta checkpoint where agents saw a group of illegal aliens trying to go around the checkpoint. Information released to Breitbart, Texas, of course. The agents approached the suspect, and one of them, who was identified as the guide, assaulted the agent, biting him numerous times before the agent was able to subdue him and arrest him. After the attack, The agent was taken to a local hospital where his bite wounds were treated. He was later released from medical care. The human trafficker is an illegal alien from Mexico who has been, wait for it, previously deported, per information provided by U.S. Border Patrol. You know, why do we continue to put, this is the question, why do we continue to put the lives of our brave men and women of Border Patrol in danger and not just get serious? Send them help and secure the border. You know, it would be if the political will was there. It would be. A question. How many of you would show up to work day in and day out knowing that the leader of this country and many in Congress are doing everything they can to make your job worse? Actively and aggressively working against the very definition of your duty. God bless those who are on the front lines, who are actually doing their job. Let's hope the numerous blood tests this agent will now need shows that he did not contract anything from the attack. And I'm serious. I'm not joking. Good Lord. Dearborn, this is from creeping-sharia-wordpress.com. Dearborn illegal alien Muslim pleads guilty to killing soccer referee during game. This is dated the 21st. Out of Detroit by WJBK. A recreational soccer player has pled guilty to one-punch killing of a referee in a deal with prosecutors. Basel Saddad admitted in a Detroit courtroom Friday that he struck and killed 44-year-old John Benigzwick during a game last summer, killed by an illegal alien Muslim who should have been deported years ago. Saad pled guilty to involuntary manslaughter. He was originally charged with second-degree murder and had been scheduled to stand trial beginning on Monday. The 36-year-old auto mechanic from Dearborn will be sentenced March 13th. Fox 2's Charlie Langton was in the court and reports that because Saad is not a U.S. citizen, he is also facing deportation. John's wife, Chris, said earlier in the week that she hopes Saad never sees the light of day. In this case, the players testified that Saad had been issued a yellow card following a foul in the first half, and then John, the referee that was murdered, was giving him a second yellow for being verbally abusive, and that's when he was struck. Basil Abdul Munir Sarad senseless murder of John could have been avoided if America enforced its immigration laws and did not allow lowlifes like him to enter and stay and game the system every step of the way to remain here like a cancer, Creeping Sharia says. They go on another portion here. Debbie Schusler.com had exclusively learned that Saad, a Shiite Muslim from Lebanon, was an illegal alien who came to the United States on a visitor's visa. In 2007, ICE agents arrested him and placed him in removal proceedings in order to be deported. Apparently, he challenged it and didn't voluntarily leave. Then he married a U.S. citizen in order to stay. The U.S. citizen petitioned for him in order to adjust his immigration status. It appears the marriage may have been a sham, but an immigration judge dropped the deportations and he got a green card. It was not his first act of violence or his first brush with the law. He had been arrested several times, including domestic violence. He was charged with domestic violence in the city of Detroit, but again, somehow managed just to beat those charges. Isn't that amazing? You know, it's mind-boggling how many lives have been negatively impacted, some permanently, forever gone, because our immigration laws are not enforced. And yet, what do we see? Every effort under the sun to ignore, avoid, and pander away to the law, to eliminate these laws. How many American lives, how many American families would not be suffering today if our immigration laws were enforced? And while we hear this continuous dribble for illegal aliens, law-breaking foreigners coming from all parts of the world, oh, the poor illegal alien, we hear little or next to nothing about the Americans that are forever gone and their families permanently torn apart. I will continue to share these murders, all preventable, and the acts of death and mayhem with you. They're disgusting. Moving on. Let's see, how much time do we have here? I'm going really fast because I just have so much for you. This is alarming. This might be the only one we get to here. I'm going to go through some of this other stuff real quick so that you can, let's see here. You might want to look up, there's a 8th grader's father is just mad as the dickens from Wisconsin because a teacher sent home a cartoon from that originally appeared in the Chattanooga Times Free Press that depicts Democrats laying down bricks while Republicans are removing them. It was an essay kind of question, and the father is mad because he thought the questions included in the homework were marked in a way that led his son to be less fair and objective and lean towards a particular political view. My question is this: why is our educational system being allowed to push a political, progressive agenda to the minds of our youth? Quite frankly, you know what? We've got students that are graduating that can't read and write. Maybe we should get back to education and get out of the political realm in our schools. Moving on, let's see here. We're going to save that one until next week. I just can't even, I have to share that one with you. Please do look up this title. To our friends and brothers and sisters in Australia, thank you, job well done. Here is the title. Not a single illegal immigrant in 7 months in Australia. It is posted at finance.townhall.com. Says Australia had a problem with illegal immigration. It doesn't anymore. Again, to our fellow patriots listening from Australia, job well done. Congratulations. All right. This last one I would like to get to, and we'll get to whatever else we have time for after this. This is alarming. The U.S. Justice Department is the ones that are confirming this, folks. This is straight from the U.S. Justice Department. It is posted at theexaminer.com, written by Jim Curry, dated the 21st. Title: U.S. National Guard protected Mexican drug shipments and traffickers. U.S. National Guard. In a joint Department of Justice, DOJ, and Immigration and Customs Enforcement far-reaching investigation, members of the Arizona National Guard, including military recruiters, were discovered working as muscle and traffickers for Mexican drug gangs, according to a report on Friday from the DOJ. Approximately 12 National Guard were identified as suspects in one of the FBI's biggest government corruption cases ever, which was almost totally ignored by government officials in Washington and major national news outlets. On Friday in federal court, a non-commissioned officer with Border State Arizona's Army National Guard was sentenced to federal prison for his role in protecting drug traffickers by using his military position to provide security for shipments of cocaine being transported from Mexico into the United States, according to the the U.S. Justice Department Criminal Division and FBI. Sergeant Raul Portillo, who listed Phoenix, Arizona, but is suspected of living in Mexico, entered a guilty plea to one count of conspiracy to commit bribery and interference with commerce by attempted extortion. A sentence of only 4 years in federal prison was given. According to his account, 34-year-old Portillo, Portillo, a sergeant and recruiter in the Arizona National Guard, conspired with others from the National Guard to moonlight as protection for Mexican narcotic traffickers transporting and distributing cocaine to other locations in southwestern United States. However, at one point during the FBI and military law enforcement sting operation, the narcotics traffickers turned out to be undercover agents. Although he was identified by the FBI as a suspect, he mysteriously was never charged and allegedly fled to Mexico. In the case of Portillo, as well as the other soldiers and sailors involved in the criminal enterprises, the Defense Department, and law enforcement agencies appeared to be complicit in covering up the crime and misconduct cases involving enlisted, undocumented immigrants. I cannot believe I just said that. Again, it says, the Defense Department and law enforcement agencies appeared to be complicit in covering up the crime and misconduct cases involving enlisted, undocumented immigrants, said a New York police officer, Iris Hugo. If they are undocumented, how do you know they're not criminals or terrorists signing up to serve in the U.S. military, she asked. Unbelievable. What's even more alarming is that he confessed to taking payments totaling $12,000 for transport and protection services for 2 large cocaine shipments. He also shocked those that were at the hearing when he told the sentencing judge, that he was paid a bonus of $2,000 by the Mexican drug gang for his success in recruiting an immigration and customs enforcement inspector. Oh my God! To date, 58 defendants have been convicted and sentenced for charges stemming from this investigation, and it is believed that there will be more arrests and convictions. End of article. Ugh. Unfreaking believable. This is the result of an unsecured border with a country where many of those in law enforcement are cartel members themselves. A country where the cartel, not the government, is in charge. This is the result of allowing illegal aliens, the dreamers, to be a part of the enforcement that they so despise in the first place. This is the future if we do not stop the nonsense and secure the border. We must elect or immediately replace those in a leadership role that understand this. While our leaders punt and pander, it continues to get worse. Why in the hell are we putting undocumented, as they call them, illegal alien dreamers in our military to begin with? It's a slap in the face. It is mind-boggling, folks. Really. All right. Let's see here. Please look up at mailtribune.com. More excuse me, more kidnappings and extortion taking place in Medford, Oregon. The title is Medford Police Arrest Gang Member and Brother After Short Chase. Of course, they don't share immigration status. Let's see. Apparently, Obama is having a hard time filling detention quotas that are required by law. That's at the WashingtonTimes.com, dated yesterday. The title again is Obama Can't Round Up Enough Illegals to Fill Detention Quotas Required by Law. That is mind-boggling. We have this one here. This is the one I wanted to save until next week. We'll get to this one right away tonight. This is the insane winner of the week. It's at AmericanThinker.com, dated the 22nd. The title, Illegal Aliens Unhappy with Shortage of Bilingual Doctors. I kid you not. This is by Pedro Gonzalez. And as maddening as this article is, I like the way he writes. His sarcasm throughout this is just excellent. Again, his name is Pedro Gonzalez. It says, the LA Times reported that illegal aliens are unhappy that not enough doctors speak Spanish. The article never used the word illegal or undocumented or dreamer or super victorious or however we are supposed to be calling illegal aliens nowadays, only referring to Hispanics who can't speak English. But since all citizens understand English, or should, I presume the article is only talking about illegal aliens. He said, every day, chronically ill Latino patients stream into Harbor UCLA Medical Center's Family Medical Clinic. Some have neglected their health because they are flummoxed or alienated by the medical system, Dr. Gloria Sanchez believes. And I like, again, this is the way Pedro wrote it. The illegal aliens are alienated. How ironic is that? They are also fumoxed. Have you ever seen an illegal alien fumoxed? I bet if we had a double-layer fence across the U.S.-Mexico border, there'd see a lot of them fumoxed. He said, Irma Torres, 75, remembered one conversation that her 70-year-old husband, Manuel, when he was hospitalized for a heart condition. She's, quote-unquote, I asked him, what did the doctor say? And she said, I don't know. And Pedro says, don't you just hate it when you invade another country and you seek out free medical care and they don't speak your language? This guy, it's so maddening, but it's so touching to hear somebody actually writing this way. Angela Campos, 55, who suffers from high blood pressure and migraines, was at the clinic for her injured knee. She said she prefers doctors who were fluent Spanish speakers, but sometimes it's hard to get an appointment because the wait times can be so very long. Pedro goes on to say, why isn't the American taxpayer paying for translators? If someone broke into your home and demanded things from you in Spanish, wouldn't it be your obligation to understand the trespasser's language? He said, if that's the case, do you think such patients should have illegally migrated to a Spanish-speaking country? Pedro finishes his article with this. It says, exit question. If people here illegally cannot find doctors in America who speak their language, where can they go to find doctors who do? Pedro Gonzalez is the editor of newsmachete.com, a conservative news site, and you can bet your bottom dollar I'm going to be checking him out. Thank you, Pedro. And in closing, before we go to our break here and bring our guests on, I would just like to say, these people, the illegal aliens, are lawless and demanding. Here is the message. It is time for you to go home. Make your demands in your own language, in your own country. What part of that do you not understand? We've had enough. All right, we're going to take our break. When we come back, we will be joined by our guests. You are not going to believe what Debbie and Robert have to share with you this evening. Please stay tuned.
This is a station identification moment. You're listening to CPR Worldwide Media, a division of CPR Media Network, coming to you live right across the planet. Check out our website at www.cprworldwidemedia.com and our Facebook page at facebook.com/CPR Worldwide Media. This is CPR Media Network, coming to you live from the USA.
Well, looky here, a new listener. Hey, this ain't your little sister's radio station.
Why do cities shine so bright? It's the glow of opportunities, of ideas bouncing off one another, of countless people, every one of us, striving to succeed. Right now, in cities everywhere, ideas are being born. New thinking that will put us in awe of what people are capable of. That's what lights cities up. And helping people and their ideas to burn even brighter, so that communities, businesses, and you and I can grow. What if a bank made that its job? For more than 200 years, Citi's job has been to help empower people and business. Now, around the world, it's wherever people gather, wherever ideas come alive. It's wherever you are. The world's city.
Forward march to the next generation and a brand new age. To the future and the future of tough. Introducing the all-new Ford F-150, the first and only pickup with a high-strength, military-grade aluminum alloy body, up to 700 pounds lighter, so it can haul more than any half-ton pickup on the planet. Over 100 patents, so you can work even smarter. And every single square millimeter tougher. Towing the most of any half-ton pickup. With the muscle to move the world. And the brains to change it. This is the all-new Ford F-150, the future of tough.
The most important thing in life will always be family. The people right here, right now.
Dominic Toretto.
You don't know me.
You're about to.
Looks like the sins of London have followed us home.
Remember Owen Shaw? This is his big bad brother.
We're being hunted.
I'm going with you.
One last ride.
Daddy's gotta go to work.
This takes crazy to a whole nother level.
What's up now? What's up now? Hold it down like what's up now?
Listen up! Ready?
Ready.
Steady. Go!
It's more than a movie. It's now a ride. Fast and Furious, supercharged. Ride it at Universal Studios Hollywood.
Mr. Gray, I just have a couple of questions. To what do you owe your success?
There's some people who say that I don't have a heart
Why would they say that?
because they know me well.
Why do I get the feeling that that is not true?
Just so deep in
You have to admit he's ridiculously hot. If you are attracted to that sort of human, the hot type of human.
I had a rough start in life. I don't do romance.
Could do what no one else can.
Welcome to my world.
Mother, Anastasia Steele.
You have no idea how delighted I am to meet you.
You said you didn't do romance.
I don't. What are you doing to me? Where have you been?
Waiting.
Oh, no. Rated R.
Read something recently worth thinking about. It's the soldier, not the campus organizer, who's given us freedom to demonstrate. It's the soldier, not the reporter, who's given us freedom of the press. It's the soldier, not the poet, who's given us freedom of speech. It's the soldier who serves under the flag, who defends the protesters' right to burn the flag. Isn't it time now to demonstrate that we support our troops? Were it not for the brave, there'd be no land of the free.
Fred Thompson's message was brought to you by citizensunited.org.
Welcome back to the Ruthie Report. Thank you for tuning in. Now, I would like to welcome to the show, to the program this evening, our guests, Robert and Debbie. Debbie will be the one joining us this evening, Ginterberg. And as I said at the beginning of the program, tonight's show, you are not going to believe the account of two fellow Americans and their Social Security theft nightmare at the hands of two illegal aliens. Welcome to the program, Debbie. How are you?
Hi, Ruthie. I'm doing great. I thank you for having me and Robert giving a chance for us to express our story and inform other fellow patriots of what is actually going on in our government.
I thank you so very, very much for being my guest. And I would just like to share, for those listening, I put the announcement out yesterday about 5 o'clock about what the program, who's the guest was this evening, and already I have been contacted by several people who are excited that Debbie is going to be on the program tonight, who have experienced the same thing and are looking for solutions and legislation. And so I tell you what, Debbie, let's just start at the beginning. Can you kind of just give everyone an overall view of what happened, and then we can get more detailed?
Okay, wonderful. Well, my husband and I, for years, we couldn't understand why collection agencies were coming after him, or why he could get a Chrysler loan, but he couldn't get a Ford motor vehicle loan. It was a real crazy thing. Now, a little history about me real quick is that I actually went back to college in my 30s, and I was actually interested in becoming an IRS and bankruptcy tax paralegal, or actually maybe even an attorney. So I was really interested in IRS tax law, which, yeah, I know that sounds funny, but I was. And when we couldn't understand why we're ending up paying thousands of dollars of credit cards that aren't my husband's, or that we couldn't electronically file our own income tax returns, I had to manually do it. And of course, calling that 800 number at the IRS and trying to figure out what's going on. Well, 12 years later, when my husband basically can't even use his Social Security number anymore, and we lost a lot of opportunities, financial opportunities that we both would have enjoyed as American citizens with the American dream, we found out from a collection agency that there were two male Hispanics living in Illinois, and the collection agency had called my husband in 2007, this was like the umpteenth one, trying to collect a debt. And of course, Robert never had an American Express card. But it was a coincidence of fate that the gentleman calling remembered me from when I was interning at a law firm. I was working with a former IRS attorney. He went into private practice. And that's where I learned a lot of my information about the insides and outs of the IRS. And I was shocked. Once I found out that these two men were able to form their own credit reports with TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian, and my husband had his own credit report. So all the home loans and the credit cards and the vehicle loans, that debt never showed up on my husband's credit report. So you would have no way. It's called synthetic identity theft. That's when individuals, and 97% of them are going to be illegal aliens, because normal identity thief, that's bad. I mean, it's a horrible thing when somebody gets into your, checking account or your credit cards. But this is where there's a parallel lives to you in another universe, the Democratic universe, I guess, where, there is, you don't know what's happening. So you'll get turned down from the lender, and you're like, well, why? And they say, okay, see your credit report or whatever, but it's not on there. So when I found this out, I begged the gentleman who called from the collection agency if he could send me the illegal aliens credit reports. And he was hesitant because he said, well, I don't know with the, Privacy Act. And I said, well, I'll give you a little clue. Illegal aliens aren't protected underneath the U.S. Privacy Act, and I bet they're not American citizens. And he goes, no, we're seeing this every day. He said, I make hundreds of calls, and they're always Hispanic. They can call me racist or whatever, but that's what he said. And so then he did send me those, and the light went on in my head. Oh, my God, this means they're working, and my husband's disabled. He could possibly lose his Social Security disability. My husband had a terrible work injury in 1997 at age 33, and he's having his 43rd surgery in March. So it was a terrible, terrible injury. So, of course, me being the type of person, we are, I worked overtime. I made sure that when we lost his income that we didn't get behind on bills, because we want to protect, of course, your FICO score or your credit history. And it didn't do any good, because the harder I worked, all the while these men are destroying my husband's, his credit. He can't get it. So when I got those credit reports, we do what all good, citizens are supposed to do. What the government tells us to do on their website is to call your local law enforcement and make a fraud report, and then you've got to prove to all the creditors that, you were a victim of a crime, which in this case, I got to go back 12 years to over 40-some creditors, current, past, present. And I was appalled because I'm looking, they have home loans, current home loans. They've got current credit cards. They have vehicle loans. Like, where do I even begin? And it was a nightmare because it's a lot of paperwork to do this. And what I was surprised at is law enforcement here in Wisconsin, in Greenway County, did not want to take our case. They said it's too complicated, and you should just take it to Illinois where these guys are. And I said, well, Wisconsin law allows the victims to, have everything here, so we don't have to travel and, go to different states and, try to get justice. Well, they wouldn't do it. So when we contacted DuPage County and Cook County, where both of these illegal aliens live, and they laughed at us. In fact, in Cook County, the detective said, well, your husband's disabled anyway, so what's the difference? I couldn't believe it. I'm just like, are you kidding me?
Unbelievable. See, again, disrespectful to the American citizen. Oh, my God.
It was horrible. So then I tried my hardest to even get our U.S. Attorney's Office to help. The U.S. Attorney's Office is in Illinois. And I got so angry because all I could do is watch what these guys were doing. I mean, it's like they could have been next door and nobody would have done anything. And it's like, so how can I stop them? So I took a little chance, and I did the investigation on my own. I ended up getting, their medical records, their cell phone records. I pulled a subscriber LexisNexis report, and I also did something that got me in big trouble. I knew it would. I mean, I knew it would open up a pathway to news media, though, and also to maybe some justice. I thought maybe I would shock the nation. Is I was able to obtain the illegal aliens' earning records right from the IRS's master files. Now, I can't explain.
Now, before you, because I want you to share I know where you're going with that, but I just wanted to say to the listeners that just tuned in, that didn't hear the opener of the program tonight, the mind-boggling. There's two issues that are mind-boggling. One is that the IRS knew. They knew about this, and they did nothing. I'll save the other one until we get there, but okay, so Okay, so you went and did all of this knowing full well that you would probably get into trouble.
I did, and what I was looking for is to see how the IRS, they have an internal coding system, and they will code the individual's tax earning records, what gets reported to them, as either using a valid Social Security number or an invalid no-name match one. And so when I got the information with one of the individual's names, not even my husband's, I was not surprised, but the other illegal, Enrique's information, Cornelio's information, and our tax information all came together. And I was looking for that magic, okay, how did they know in 1992? Then why are they telling us in 2008 that my husband has a tax liability of $60,000 on taxes on underreported income that he earned when he's disabled, and he earned it in Illinois? So, of course, my husband's a valid user, and the illegals, or these two men are using an invalid SSN. That's a long time. I mean, that's a long, long time. And that explained a lot of our tax issues. So I'm thinking, okay, when I call the IRS, I'm thinking, they're going to be really like, oh, thanks for telling us. We're not going to come after you now. No, they just said, well, you can file an appeal. And I'm like, oh, that's never going to happen. It'll never get that far. So I took everything, and we met with Congressman Petrie. When you told the IRS that you had the IRS master file and that you saw all this, what did they say to you? I don't think that the person I talked to, you've got to remember, at that time there was no identity hotline number. You're just calling an 800 number and you're getting, agent 555-221-005, and I don't think they got what I was saying, and I think it was just like talking to a wall. It was like I could have called anybody. They didn't get it. So once we took everything that we had gathered, and remember, I also had to, according to the law, because they're not going to do it, I had to actually get copies of every loan application they ever made to find out exactly where the loans originated from, where the paperwork was signed. It's a lot of work. I logged in over 1,400 hours. That's a long time before I could take this to our congressman. And when I took it and we had the meeting, Congressman Petrie was quite surprised and very upset, and he kept shaking his head like, I said to him, how would you not know this is going on? Because the Tax Inspector General's office has testimony to Congress. I mean, I did a lot of homework, obviously, before I met with him. I don't think it's a shocker. It's not like Debbie just invented, something. It's happening. Mm-hmm. And Congress has been warned about this from many federal agencies, especially, like I said, the Tax Inspector General's office that oversees the IRS. So he said, well, what do you want me to do? And I said, well, I'd like you to write, I'll do a congressional inquiry against the IRS about this tax issue, number one, because obviously, that's a huge problem. We need to clear this up. So he did do that, and I did send you over, a copy of that in the response that they sent to Representative Petrie, claiming that, yeah, there were two unauthorized users, and I don't know how you can be an authorized user of somebody else's social, but they called them unauthorized users, and now the Ginterbergs don't have a tax problem at this time, and thank you for bringing that to their attention. Well, what I found out later on is I was watching TV one afternoon, and my husband hands me the phone and said, caller ID says the White House, and I have a feeling this call is for you. And I said, yeah, I bet it is.
I bet it is.
I bet it is. I went, uh-oh, my bad. So, yes, at the time, it was Deborah Wolf, and she was the director of the U.S. Privacy Department of the Treasury and the chief legal counsel. Well, you're in deep doo-doo when, you're getting this phone call, and you're like, oh, hello, and they're like, basically telling me that I violated these individuals' U.S. privacy rights in Tax Code 6103. And I
now, wait a second, just so everybody understands.
Yep.
The White House is calling you and stating that you, the American citizen whose life has been turned upside down, you violated the illegal aliens' privacy rights.
and tax code 6103. And I'm like, I don't think I did. I said, when you can figure out what 2 felonies I did violate or whatever I did, I said, because I can list, and I did, what you're doing as agents of the federal government, you're actually perpetrating fraud, which is against IRS law. I said, you're treating these illegal aliens as though they're resident aliens. And they said, yes, we do. For tax purposes, all illegal aliens are resident aliens. And I said, well, that's your first mistake. I said, and that's Congress's mistake for allowing this to happen because they're not legally here. And they're like, well, everyone has to file taxes. And I said, not with my Social Security number, or not with my husband's, or with another American's. I said, you're perpetrating this fraud. So we went back and around, and finally we came to the conclusion I didn't care if they threatened me or whatever they said. And then a couple weeks later, we got a call, and they wanted to fly my husband and I out to Washington, D.C., and this was now in 2008.
Before, just so that everybody understands, they actually threatened to charge Debbie. They were going to charge Debbie. Debbie is the American citizen whose husband's Social Security number has been utilized by 2 illegal aliens in this country. All the while the IRS knew it, and because she investigated this, the White House or whoever, Washington, D.C. calling, actually threatened her for the work that she had performed. And I love it. What does Debbie say? She says, I was adamant. I said, do it. Charge me. I don't care. I love You got to share some of this, Debbie. The listeners are just cheering. Pom-poms are waving. Somebody's standing up saying, I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore. Oh, okay, so.
It's absolutely ridiculous. And then they turned into more of nicer. You know what I'm saying? Then all of a sudden they're apologetic. And they're like, well, we're so sorry that this happened. And, and when I say threatened, I don't mean they, said we are threatening you, but they're saying when they're telling you that you're violating, or committing a felony, or you're violating someone else's rights, and I'm breaking the law by getting this information, I was just appalled by it. I'm just like, I'm just shaking my head like, wow, I can't believe it. So
now
we ended up going to Washington, D.C., and this forum, it was a huge international forum where, it was closed to the public, and both Robert and I had to sign paperwork for national security that we would not discuss what was being discussed at this forum. Secret Service was there. We've got, lots of top officials from the federal government. There's Choice Point, Google, Bank of America, United Kingdom. And everyone there, I'm sitting around going, everyone here has had a huge breach of Social Security numbers. And the IRS is going to, tell everyone how to better protect the personal identifier or the Social Security number. And here I just, as they're going to, the same time frame, they're advertising this whole big forum, I am able to get tax earning records of other individuals. And they don't, understand how I did that. So, and I'm not really, I'm not a big hacker or, a expert computer person by no means, so that's not how I did it. But I was just kind of surprised. So my husband and I are sitting at this big round table, and all these people in suits and important people, and we're listening to, everybody talk about, how they're going to protect the numbers and what they're going to do. And I'm just sitting here listening, and it was my turn to speak. I just couldn't stop myself. I'm just like, I cannot believe that an agency as large as the IRS can't put a lid on this, and how they're even actually helping this to continue. So a little while later, after I've been talking and people have been asking me questions at this forum, then the IRS one of the agents came over and said, well, kind of sat by us and said, you're kind of making us look bad. And I was like, you pretty much are bad. This is a bad thing. I mean, this is a really bad thing. Bad IRS, bad, and I don't know. It was just,
I can't believe the gall. how long they knew this was happening. They did absolutely nothing to stop it. When you do, just to get everybody kind of caught up here, when you have to go through hours and hours of investigation and research to find out just what in the hell is going on to begin with, your whole lives have been put on hold for this. And now the IRS wants to snuggle up to you so that you don't share this with the media and that you play nicey nice and, just kind of let it all go after they've actually threatened you because you've gotten this information. Is that where we're at?
Accusing me of doing something wrong.
Yep.
And I said to them, or I said at this meeting, I said, everybody there at that forum was getting paid. They all had a salary. You know what I'm saying? Like, and Robert and I never had any restitution, as far as from Cornelio or Enrique or any of the companies that allowed this fraud to continue, or when they found out the fraud, like the home lenders. And it was really amazing that as I'm going through these men's IRS earning records, I can see when they came into the country. Basically, I'm sure they came in with their parents because their parents are here, and you can bet they're not legal, obviously. And so then we have another generation, which they kind of fit into that dreamer, category. They're 10 years younger than my husband. So, I'm going, they're going to get a pathway to citizenship. It's like, it was horrible because after, we kept insisting through media services like yours and other conservative news and putting pressure on law enforcement, DuPage County, the state attorney's office, did take the case against Cornelio Serres.
Okay, so let's share with everybody the two illegal aliens that you found out were utilizing your husband's social security number were their names Cornelio
Serres and Enrique Jimenez.
Mm-hmm. Jimenez, okay,
Yep.
And they're both from Illinois, correct?
Yep, and they both started working at Labor Temp Service together. They both went to Leonardo Foods together, and then they both went to McDonald's. They both knew each other.
Yeah, and so one couldn't say to the other, seeing they're sharing the same social security number. One took it, and they both utilized it. Is pretty much the bottom line. Okay, so now go ahead.
Okay, then Cornelio was a little more ambitious, and he became a manager of McDonald's. So he's earning about $44,000 a year, and he's got a wife and some kids. And I saw that he only filed income tax returns twice in 12 years, and then he got a federal refund. And Enrique never filed a tax return, so he had no tax filing on his income. But what was really interesting is when you're looking at these earning records, that Enrique bought a home through Wells Fargo, was a lender. It's a HUD-based home loan. He's grossing $16,000 a year, and he got a $187,000 home loan.
How can that be? And it's a HUD loan on top of it.
It's HUD. I'm just going, I'm just like, this is impossible.
Unbelievable.
And I'm looking at Cornelio Serres. He's owning 3 homes at one time. He has 2 rental properties and a home he's living in. They're all over $240,000 home loans. And, of course, these lenders are Countrywide, Bank of America. This is all during that big no-doc, verification loan thing. And remember when they had to do that big bailout to all these banks that were too big to fail?
Oh, golly gee, those poor people, they got to be able to get a loan, a mortgage, a home loan. Can't you remember, the listeners, can't you remember the bleeding heart stories about home ownership? Oh, my goodness. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, I'm just like, okay, and I'm going, okay, well, then where is Cornelio's rental income? And I'm looking, he's got a 401k with my husband's social. I'm like, oh, my
I
God.
never even thought of that.
This guy's living pretty darn good. He's going on his 3rd Ford motor vehicle. In fact, in 2007, he just bought a brand new $34,000 Ford Explorer.
He had a Ford Expedition, a Ford Explorer, and a Ford E150 van. Are you kidding me?
And I'm just like, how can he afford this? it's like,
He works at McDonald's.
Yes, and you know what? You know who he's renting to, right? Because when the U.S. Marshals finally did get involved and they raided these places, they're full of illegals. And one of the homes that they raided, the rental homes, Cornelio had refinanced and got a equity line of credit out of it the year before, but the place was condemned by the city of Chicago, and they placed an $8,000 a day building code violation against Cornelio. Okay, so I'm going, okay, now this is HUD homes too. Okay, and I'm going, how are they doing this? How is he able to pull this off? His wife works at Book and Binding. She's only been there, 3-4 years. I mean, they're lying on their loan. Now, I tracked down their loan applications. We have their original loan applications. So we couldn't just stop at getting, like the LexisNexis report or the tax earning records. I went further and actually got the original loan application.
Can I just stop you just for a second? To all of you that are listening, listen to what Debbie has gone through. Her determination. When I said in the show announcement that this woman's sheer determination, I was not kidding. If every single patriot who has been the victim of theft, Social Security, identity, if half of us would go through what Debbie has gone through and how aggressive she has been, we could stop this. We could stop this without Congress. I mean, they just have to do something. But I wanted to share how hard you've worked, Debbie. I don't want that to go unnoticed. Okay, so you have all of this information. The house one of the rentals is in violation. It's a HUD house, and he's an illegal alien with a stolen Social Security number. God help us.
I have to share with your listeners. I know I had sent you a copy of a letter we received from Countrywide Home Loans because they were one of the lenders. And I have to laugh because that home was foreclosed on June 6, 2009, okay? And I had to laugh because I had asked, we requested $10,000 from them just to get a response to them because they weren't answering us. Until I requested a dollar amount for damages, they wouldn't answer us. And they acknowledge in the letter that the property at 2933 West 24th Boulevard, Chicago, Illinois, was a fraudulently obtained home loan. And yet, this is what they have on this letter. Please understand that Countrywide cannot provide you specifics surrounding Mr. Cerez's loan origination, as direct authorization from Mr. Cerez would be required in order to do so. Although your Social Security appears to be fraudulently obtained and used by Mr. Cerez and others, we are constrained by privacy laws and regulations from revealing a borrower's loan information without a subpoena or other process.
So sum that up in that one sentence kind of in a nutshell.
That they acknowledge it was a fraudulent loan, they know it is, but they're not going to give us any information about the loan.
Because they're protecting the illegal alien thief, his privacy. There is no privacy. He doesn't deserve or is warranted privacy. He's not a U.S. citizen. He's a lawless criminal.
No, exactly. So now this takes us all, okay, I've got stacks and stacks. I mean, there's no disputing. People just shake their head when I walk in with a 12-inch binder full of information. And it's fun to watch. It takes 3 discs, to put on. And I'm like, okay, you're telling me they're undocumented? My butt. Look how well documented they are.
Exactly. How many times have we said, please, do not insult our intelligence and call them undocumented. They have more documentation than we do.
Exactly. Now I have to jump to this today. When I knew I was going to come on your show, and I've been pulling there's a lot of, I'm not going to say there's been 100% support from Republicans, but I have to laugh because, and I hope Senator Chuck Schumer and Senator Richard Durbin, Richard Durbin's from Illinois, and Senator Chuck Schumer is a Democrat from New York. I hope they're listening tonight because I have pulled information, and Senator Chuck Schumer, he stated on January 30th of this year, this is what he says, that Republicans seem to dislike the idea of supporting Homeland Security. They dislike dreamers, these are the illegal alien children of the illegal aliens, more than they dislike ISIS.
Do you believe that? Do you believe that, people? That the Republicans dislike illegal aliens more than they dislike ISIS? You know, a comment like that is truly a representative of the people of this great nation to make such an asinine, stupid comment such as that is just proof that he should be removed from office. He does not have the best interests of the American citizenry in mind.
He should. He also went on to say, because when the Republicans tried to add on to the immigration bill that the illegals have to come forward with the Social Security numbers that they did use, he says that there's no way that these illegal aliens can remember all of the Social Security numbers they used. They've been in the shadows. How could you ever expect them to remember all those numbers?
No, stop. An ice cream headache all day long. So here, what she is saying to you folks is we have a representative. Debbie is talking to them about a serious issue that is affecting millions of Americans, and this knothead says, you mean to tell me that you really want the illegal aliens who utilized an American Social Security number? You mean that is going to be just too unfair for them to remember every number that they utilized lawlessly? This is an insult to the rule of law. He does not deserve to sit in Congress.
No. Well, then his fellow, partner, Senator Richard Durbin, he actually said maybe an illegal alien will become president someday. Okay, I'm just like,
well, we've already done that.
There's a YouTube video, and I can give you these links for your listeners. There's a YouTube video where he says this. Now, on his congressional Facebook page, he has got one illegal alien dreamer after the other about how wonderful they are and how terrific they are. And today, I just posted some information underneath a picture of one of his star illegals, dreamers, and I just mentioned our story, and I got insulted and called a racist. Saying I'm a Tea Partier, beggar, that I'm too negative, and that, and I'm just like, I didn't cuss, swear, or be disrespectful, but I just told it the way it was. This is what happened. And I had a lot of the responses were laugh out loud.
Oh, you're kidding.
So I'm like, okay, well, I don't understand why these people are being showcased, because I said, well, if you have a dreamer, what are their parents doing for a social? What they own homes? What are they all working? And one person on their comment on Facebook said, well, all illegal aliens are working for cash. I'm just like, well, so then they're really big tax evaders for one thing. But I said, no, they're not all working for cash, because I have, actual documentation from the Tax Inspector General's office, and the statistical data will blow you out of this water. It's like, no, this is the fastest growing crime in this country.
And I want to selfishly just take a second here to thank Debbie in front of everyone listening, because she actually informed them to listen to the Ruthie Report tonight. So hey, you guys, Dick Durbin, Chuck baby, if you're listening in, I find you despicable. How's that? So I want to get to this portion of it, because this is really going to blow people's minds. Okay, so Cornelio, you went after these guys. It was Cornelio, and what is the other guy's name again?
Enrique.
You went after these guys, and Cornelio Cerez was actually convicted, correct?
Yes, there was a trial in 2010. My husband was subpoenaed as a witness, and he had had surgery 2 weeks before that, and he asked, obviously he's going to go, but it was kind of funny because it says if he didn't show up, he'd be arrested. So I kind of thought that was really funny, and they said they would pay his tolls.
Ironic, isn't it? Isn't it?
Yeah, no hotel if he has to stay, no transportation there. And it's like, so once again, we have to pay out of our pockets, and then when he gets to court, he has to have all these, police officers around him. And my husband said if looks could kill, he would have been dead, because by now, Cornelio no longer has his 3 properties or his car or his job, because I tracked him down. And every time he would leave a job, I would find out where he's working, and I'd get him fired. Okay, so it's like, okay, you own nothing now, and now you're in handcuffs. I said, so he was convicted. And
now here's the second shocker that I will let Debbie share with you, but this is the second shocker of the evening. If this doesn't drive you guys to your feet, I don't know what will. Okay, so he was convicted, and what happened?
Okay, so we figured, okay, there is some justice. It was a long haul. At least he'll get deported, hopefully, after he serves his 6 years. Well, after 1 year, his attorney takes the case back into the court, because our U.S. Supreme Court ruled in May of 2009 in a similar case in Illinois that if an illegal alien doesn't know that you were a real human being and they use your social, they can't be charged with aggravated identity theft. So he was vindicated and set free. And I was just like,
do you believe this? He was convicted. He had 3 houses, 3 cars. He stole this number and shared it with his buddy working at McDonald's. Debbie goes through all of this. I'm just so damn mad I can't hardly stand it. Goes through all this, finally gets somebody, after the IRS is threatening her for standing up for herself and her husband. Finally, there's a sliver of justice, and what do? Because the illegal alien who stole the number wasn't sure if it was a real person's number or just some make-believe number, he gets a pass. I cannot believe this.
And then, so what we do is Fox 6 investigates. We contacted them last year, around April, because we wanted to meet with Senator Johnson, because we wanted him to introduce the same bill, this H.R. 926, the Social Security Defense Act, that I actually sat in Representative Petrie's office and helped write. Okay, I helped write this tax code bill because the IRS said, we're going to need a tax code bill so we can tell you when somebody's fraudulently using your social, and so that we can start telling employers to stop putting your social on somebody else's W-2. Because right now the IRS and the U.S. Justice Department and the U.S. Labor Department tells all employers that if an employee fails to validate their Social Security number, you cannot terminate or take any adverse action against them for not having a valid social. And what you have to do, what the IRS says, you have to document twice and ask every year for the real one. But if they don't give it to you, then you just keep, at the end of the year, you give them a W-2 with Ruthie's social on it, Debbie's social on it, and Bob's social on it, and listener out in the world social on it. I'm like, are you kidding me? I said, you're going to need a bill for that. I said, fine. So put together this bill. It's been introduced 3 times into the House. The first time, Representative Petrie had some bipartisan Democrat support. The second year, nothing. The third year, nothing. Last year, nothing. And this year, or last year, when Senator Johnson introduced the bill, he had bipartisan support, and he has it again this year. And
now, before we go into, because now there are people that have actually emailed me that are very interested in this legislation, and I would like to share the rest of the time we have, except for I want to just share one little tidbit here. There was this Fox 6 investigator, this Brian Police? Ponce? Okay. Yep. Do you want to share? Just because this is so maddening, folks. This is the kind of asinine, lawless nonsense that the illegal alien is spewing, and is another reason why they get a slap on the wrist. Do you want to share with them what happened when this investigator went actually to his house and asked him?
Yes. Well, we tracked Cornelio down because what he did is 8 months after he got out of prison and lost everything, he went to a sheriff's sale and paid cash for the house he's living in right now. He paid cash, and when you pay cash for a house, you're supposed to have a Social Security number, and then it has to be reported to the IRS, because most of us don't pay cash for our homes, especially if we spent a year in prison and spent 3-4 years running from the law. Okay, it's like normally we don't have that kind of money. Well, he paid cash, and then he did a quick claim deed for his wife, Ilvika. And so they're living in that home right now with their kids. Well, when Fox 6 Investigates did a stakeout, and then they interviewed Cornelio, and the producer said, what would you want us to ask him? I said, ask him how he feels about what he did with our life, how he ruined our life. The dollars, the thousands of dollars, the hours, the lack of we're living in our garage right now that we had to convert into a home because we can't get funding to finish our home that's half built. That's right next to our property. So we're living in Wisconsin with no furnace, and we burn wood. Okay, no restitution. There's no organization that gives us any money. Like, they have all these institutions out there for illegal aliens and all this funding to help them, but there's nothing for the victims of any crime, whether it's murder, rape, anything. There is no money. There's nothing. Nobody helps you. So when they interviewed him, and you can watch this if you actually Google Fox 6 News Investigates, and in the search button put IRS, our story will pop up. And you can hear Cornelio tell this reporter that he did nothing wrong, that he didn't use my husband's name, and that he just wanted to feed his family. And he pays his bills.
It says right here, quote unquote, I use my name, I know use his name and everything. I was paying my bills. I pay my bills, and not like regular people do. I do not do bad things to nobody. In other words, he says I used them just to bring food to my family. Oh my God, please. You have 3 houses. You have 3 vehicles, and you look at an investigative reporter with a camera rolling and say, all I did was, bring food to my family. Oh my God, I'm just
like, Bob, my husband, Bob, if you'd meet him, he's a 6'4", 245-pound man, okay? And he has had terrible back injury, and so he has a spinal cord stimulator, but he said that he can't face him because he's afraid he'd go to prison. Because, he's not even a violent man, but he's just like, how do you not want to just, explode? It's like, you're sitting here telling me our lives didn't matter, and you're the victim here?
And then to go to your representatives, those in charge of representing what is best for the American citizenry, not an illegal alien foreigner, and you go to their pages today and are assaulted and mocked for what you have gone through. I really do hope that Durbin and Schumer's office are listening. You are so disrespectful to the people that you were elected to represent, the American citizenry. How can you sleep at night, sirs, when you know that this is the kind of crap that's going on, and you continue to spew this lawless agenda? I just, shame on you. Shame on both of you. You deserve to be removed from office.
Well, we all know Representative Louis Gutierrez, okay? Now,
Gutierrez, such disdain for that man.
Oh my God. Well, I've been kicked off his site. Okay, all I've ever done is mention our story. I am banned. Okay, I am banned from his site. I have to expect I might be banned from these two other Democrat sites because, again, I make sure I don't use vulgar language. I make sure I'm not insulting. But I get badgered and called a racist and laughed at. But they will never get banned. If I have saved threatening messages we've received over the years, all the insults that we received, and they're by illegal aliens or supporters, and they're by Democrats. And it's really hurtful because no one ever says that's a horrible thing. I hear, well, Americans commit more identity theft than illegals do. I hear that. Or they'll say, well, they wouldn't have to commit this crime if we didn't have to wait so long to come in, or if we didn't have to live in the shadows.
They're not living in any damn shadows. They're in our schools, our clinics, our jobs. They're everywhere. They're not in any damn shadow, for Christ's sake. I'm so tired of hearing that. And, Debbie, honestly, the only reason they call you a racist, the bottom line here is that is all they have left. The 5th grade playground mentality, because they cannot win the argument. We have the rule of law on our side, and they can't get around it. And the only thing that they have left to resort to 9 times out of 10 is to call us names like little girls on the playground. That is the bottom line.
Yeah, and they get so irate in their anger. I mean, their blood pressure must go up. I stay relatively calm, and their blood pressure must go up to 190 over 90. Because they're just like...
And let me share really quick here, because we want to get to the legislation. But for all you moles and trolls listening in to Schumer, I would love for Gutierrez to be listening in, slime ball. For Gutierrez and Durbin, anybody that's listening from those offices, any moles or trolls, here is my email address. It is minnSir@yahoo.com. Again, minnSir@yahoo.com. If you have a message for Debbie and Robert, you can go through me, and then I will share that with them. Or if you have a message for Ruthie at the Ruthie Report, please, by all means, feel free to show your elementary attitude and mentality and send me your message. Okay. Now, because I know specifically there is a sister patriot in Florida that is very interested in the legislation, Debbie, that you have created, and that Ron Johnson in Wisconsin is looking at bipartisan support for. We have about 7 minutes left. So can you have they put a legislative number on this, or how can people get involved in this?
Well, right now, the only numbers that you can actually research a bill on are from last year. Now, in the House, it is H.R. 926.
H.R. 926.
926.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And this is in Wisconsin.
Yes, this is in Wisconsin. And in the Senate, it is Senate Bill S2239. And that's the Social Security Identity Defense Act of 2014. And you can read it's only 8 pages. It's pretty simple. You don't have to have 100,000 pages on this bill. It's very simple. And basically, the first part of the bill says, the IRS has to tell you that someone's fraudulently using your social. And the second part of the bill is that employers can no longer put an invalid SSN on a W-2. And very, very importantly, that the IRS can share this information with Homeland Security and other federal agencies like law enforcement, because right now the IRS is not allowed to share anything criminal with any of other agencies.
Do you believe that? I don't understand that. Why they do not work together and cannot share with each other. It just seems so half-assed backwards, doesn't it?
It's unbelievable. And, I have to give kudos, to any Democrat that's willing to co-sponsor a bill and to be on here. And Senator Warner, Mark Warner, he's a Democrat from Virginia. He is on the bill. He was on the bill with Ron Johnson last year, and he's going to be on that bill again. And I know that I got a call from Senator, I actually from Paul Ryan. I got a call from Senator Sensenbrenner, and they're all on that bill. So
can we have the name again? Can we have the name of the bill again?
Yes, it is H.R. 926 in the House, because it would be called the Social Security Defense Act, and in the Senate, we just have my paperwork here, S2239, the Social Security Identity Defense Act of 2004. Now, I was informed by Senator Johnson's office today, I had a conference call with them this morning, that he plans to reintroduce this in the next couple months. So I know that I also spoke with Senator Tammy Baldwin's office, and she's on board with this, I guess, at least verbally. So I'm really curious to see if after this is the fourth year into this, that we actually can get this bill with enough sponsors so that it actually gets on the House floor and gets voted on.
See, now, my concern is, and I feel an urgency to get these representatives on record with this, because if we do not stop the lawless nonsense of Obama and this amnesty, they are going to get work permits, and this is just going to make it twice as hard. You know, you and I were talking about the Social Security and everything else, Debbie.
Now let me add this. I know that our time is almost done, but I really want to add that the Republicans have tried to put in the immigration bill that, as I mentioned before, that the illegals have to write down what socials they were using, and if they did anything wrong, like what these two men did, they can't get citizenship. But Obama has taken that out and said that they specifically are told in the deferred action for childhood arrivals that if they're asked to disclose that, they don't have to. They can put down NA. They do not have to disclose any numbers that they use. And that's from Obama. So,
you know, it's just so unbelievably biased to the American citizenry, the ones that they took an oath to represent, and so in favor of the lawlessness and theft. And I just, you know, you cannot make this up. I mean, it's just... So I tell you what, Debbie, just for those that did email me and are listening in, cheering Debbie on, I am trying my darndest to get Debbie to start her own group, and we'll see where that goes. But in the meantime, until there is a secure avenue to contact Debbie, if you have a message for her, and you're not a mole or a troll, that you want me to share, please feel free to email me, and I will get it to Debbie. My email again is minnSir@yahoo.com. Debbie, you have an open invitation to this program anytime. I'm hoping that you will say yes when you have more information on the Social Security Defense Act in Wisconsin, H.R. 926 or S2239. Will you come back on the program and be my guest again, and we'll update everybody?
I certainly will, and I just beg all the constituents out there. I put myself on the line. I could have been arrested and been in federal prison or whatever, but all I'm asking is that for constituents to write their congressman, because without constituent power, complaining about it or just shaking your head about it, all I'm asking other people to do is to write their congressman and tell them they want this bill, because if it doesn't get constituent support, I'm not allowed to go to your congressman, because they tell me, you're not my constituent, I don't want to hear you. I can't go to these other Democratic, they'll tell me, you're not, I was told that today, are you our constituent? Are you living? No, I'm not. Well, then we don't want to hear from you. Yep. So it's obviously, we need to band together, because if we don't, then we only have ourselves to blame. That's why I pursue and keep doing this. Because I
thank you so very, very much. I don't mean to sound derogatory to others that are also busting, their butts out there, but it was so refreshing to call Debbie up on the phone and hear her enthusiasm and her spirit and her drive and the dedication she has to this. This is what we need, folks. If we could all unite and with the same determination, we could win this battle, and that is what it's going to take. And thank you. Will you say a special hello to Robert for me?
He's smiling right now. He says thank you. He's so glad that he's just clapping. We're just hoping that like I said, thanks for giving us a voice. This is what we need to do.
Anytime. And you know what? Debbie and I are going to work together. Just stay tuned. I'm not going to let a sister patriot like this get away. So thank you very